On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about The Disfigured and the Divine by Emasculator. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters. We like metal. We like to talk about it, and we're here on this sunny, beautiful January.
February.
Oh, fuck. It's been February for 16 days.
Yeah.
And I did that.
It's the birthday of our biggest fan, Chris Friddle.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. For a second, I was like, Washington's birthday is tomorrow.
Right.
George Washington, our biggest fan.
Yes.
Our biggest fan at our job.
Yeah.
I don't think he listens to this podcast.
Probably not. I wonder if he's ever listened to anything like that.
I don't know.
He never switches off the radio.
Yeah. I feel like podcasts would be his jam.
Oh, and you know what was cool last night? You know how we got that mass text from our boss?
Yeah.
That said, hey, OJ saved the day. He said that we were down on the zoo, and I'm like, yeah.
It was you.
It was not me.
It was Chris.
It was Chris.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, it's a beautiful day outside, beautiful, sunny, and what's the fucking temperature?
It was 2 below in my car.
-8 is what my computer says.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I fucking
hate these days because
it looks so nice.
It's so inviting. Everything's blue. The birds are on the trees. And then you go outside and it feels like you're being murdered.
You've walked past the second marker on Hoth or something.
Right.
Your tauntaun is about to, die. It's been so fucking cold for so long.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember it, I feel like last year it was not this cold for this long.
Right.
We did have a week, last week now, I think. Mm-hmm. Where it was slightly warmer for a little bit, but yeah, it's been below zero or barely above all fucking week,
and it's costing me a shit ton of money because you know how I had my car towed and then we couldn't start it when I paid the fine or whatever, and then we went to go start it and the dead battery is the reason it didn't move.
And every day that it's where it's at.
Yeah, there's no fucking way that I would be able to jump that car, so it's just staying there unless I could just pay to have it towed somewhere else.
Pay to have it towed somewhere and just destroyed, I think is...
Yeah. I still owe $1,000 on it.
Well, at what point, though, do you go, well, like can you not just still pay what you owe on it with it being fucking destroyed? Like,
I wish I could sell it to some young person who needs a first car for cheap. It's not dangerous or anyway.
It just won't work for a couple months out of the year.
Right.
I don't know. I got no experience with selling cars.
Mm-hmm. I've got experience with wrecking them, but yeah.
I thankfully don't have any experience with wrecking cars. I have caused some damage to some vehicles before, both directly and indirectly. But
didn't you have one of your vehicles crashed at one point?
Two of mine, in fact.
And they weren't yours.
Both of them were white Pontiac Sunfires. And both times I was not in or anywhere near the vehicle because it was being... Well, okay, the first time, I was going to say it was my dad both times, but that's not true. The first time it was my dad, and then the second time it was my sister. Both times they were not at fault, if I remember correctly. I think my dad got T-boned in Bismarck. I don't remember why he was driving my car, but as far as I remember, somebody else fucked up, and the car got totaled. And then... my sister, her car needed some maintenance done, so she drove it down to Washburn, and my dad took it to the Napa or whatever.
Okay.
And then she got my car because her car was going to be whatever needed to be done was going to be done really quick, and so I would drive her car to school throughout the week, and she would drive my car up here in Minot. because she couldn't make it back down to pick up her car.
Right.
It was perfectly fine. It was great. I got to drive a much nicer car for a week.
The Sunfire wasn't really a nice car?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't really that nice. I think that one did have an aux port, which
really?
the previous Sunfire did not.
Oh, so it was a high-tech one.
Yeah, the previous Sunfire did not just have an aux port in the stereo, so you had to do the fucking cigarette lighter radio whatever the fuck bullshit if you wanted to plug in your iPod.
Right.
And every time you drove by someone who happened to be listening to a frequency kind of close to what you were listening to, your music would stop. That sucked. The second Sunfire, I think, had an aux port in it. Anyway, my sister was driving it up here and going down
8th, was it?
I think it was 8th.
Yeah.
I was about to say 16th, but no, it was 8th because it's way steeper. She was driving down 8th Street and hit a patch of ice. Slammed into, I think, someone's parked car.
Oof.
Or no, she didn't slam into the parked car. She just hit an open patch of sidewalk.
Yeah.
The car had flipped around, so she hadn't hit anything. The car was undamaged at that point. And then another car came down the hill and did the exact same thing, and then smashed into my car.
Oof.
And then another car smashed into that car, which then smashed again into my car. So yeah, it was a whole thing. I don't remember if she called me. I think she called my dad first. And I don't remember if my sister called me or not. She'll probably listen to this episode. She might text me if she remembers, but like, yeah, I remember she was very upset and I was just like, are you okay?
Yeah, that's the main thing here.
Are you all right?
Are you okay?
I don't particularly like that car anyway. So yeah, basically I had to drive my dad's truck, which at the time was very old. He had, I think it was like a 95 F250 or something like that. And for about a decade at that point, the front tires were starting to point at each other.
Oh, no.
At the tops. The axle was getting more than a little bent. But I drove that for a while, which kind of sucked because I was not used to driving such a big, ungainly vehicle.
It's an automatic transmission, right?
It was still automatic. I do not know how to drive stick.
I missed that. It was just such being immersed in the situation.
Yeah.
It was great.
I think that's that would be the problem for me. Is I don't think I need any extra cognitive load when I'm driving. I don't think I need to think about anything more. I think what's already in the car is enough for me. I've done some stupid stuff, never resulting in any meaningful damage or injury, but I've done some stupid things as a result of my brain being a little overloaded while driving. So I don't think I need the extra layer of having to have a hand off the wheel every once in a while and figuring out the pedals and shit.
You know, for some reason, in the cutaway from this conversation, I'm imagining you in your car reading a novel and cooking scrambled eggs.
Yep. Yeah. On the hot plate that's hooked up to the cigarette lighter. I've got something going on in the back as well.
Right.
I've got a fish tank in the back.
And you're getting your hair done.
Getting my hair done, yeah, by the fish.
By the fish.
But yeah, and then I got the car that I still have to this day, a few months later, as a early sort of graduation thing of like, hey, we're not paying for your school, but we will give you a car so you can get there. And so yeah, I still have that car because it's a Toyota Corolla, and they are indestructible. The Toyota Corolla is like the B-52 of cars.
Right.
It's just going to keep going.
Well, how old are the B-52s at this point? Fred Schneider's got to be...
That's funny.
Yeah.
I don't know how old Fred Schneider is. I do know that the airplane has been in service since the mid-50s, I think.
So it's been 70 years.
The big, ugly, fat fuck, as it's... I actually don't remember if it's Big Ugly Fat Fuck or Big Ugly Flying Fuck. Its nickname is the Buff.
The Buff.
but I don't remember if it's fat or flying is the name. I assume it's fat because it is kind of a fat airplane.
It is. It makes me wonder if my brother, who was an EWO on the B-52, Electronic Warfare Officer, I wonder if Mom ever texted him to ask how he was doing, saying, "Can't talk, I'm in the buff."
I'm in the buff right now. I'll call you when I put some clothes on. No one knows what happens up on the airplanes. I don't know what language that was.
I have no idea.
It definitely wasn't English. I primed a bunch of Space Marines today.
Yeah, you showed me those. They're great.
So yeah, now it's painting time.
Right, now you actually have to think.
Now I have to do the hard part.
Yeah.
Now. And I'm thinking, like, I was looking at getting a standing desk for painting because it would be nice to not have to hunch so much and to have a surface that's at a good height to really sort of put my elbows on and try and steady my hands. But standing desks are fucking expensive.
Yeah, they are.
But now I'm thinking, because we got basketball games coming up at work, and now I'm motivated because I'm like, there are things that I want to buy, and if you do all the games, that pays pretty damn well. So I think I'm gonna probably do most of them unless somebody wants to do them. And we only have 6, which is less than it has been some years. Like the first year we did it, I don't remember how many fucking games we had, but by the end, I remember Quinn and I were fucking exhausted. That was also immediately before COVID. So now I'm thinking, like, there are a bunch of things that I want to buy, and I don't know which one I would buy with that money. It's like, do I want to buy the standing desk? Do I want to buy a new computer monitor? Do I want to buy more fucking Warhammer? Do I want to buy a gun, even though the one I have is still not in working order?
You fired it, what, 6 times?
No, it was about 30 times.
Oh, you got 30 rounds out.
I got about 30 rounds out of it in one sitting before it stopped being able to be reloaded without a tremendous amount of force on the cylinder release. So, yeah, I've just been things like, having like a actual semi-automatic would be neat. I don't know, but they're expensive. At least if you don't want to buy a high point. If you don't give a shit if the gun looks good or is altogether that good, you can buy a high point for like $200. But I have taste.
I would just like, I would like a 6 gun. I would just like
get yourself just a little 38 special or something. I don't know.
Right.
But
44 Magnum.
That one might be a little too much. Might be a little overkill.
Blow your head clean
off. But yeah. So now I'm like, I don't know which one. I think it's easy enough to write the gun off of the list as, like, you have a gun, get that one fixed first. It's the same thing that people always say about Warhammer. It's like, don't buy any new minis until you finish the ones you have.
Right. But Mom, I want to stop and get minis. We have minis at home.
What did the minis at home look like? Because that meme is the McDonald's meme is always like, what would the minis at home, like, really shitty 3D prints? Really, really bad 3D prints.
They're made out of Play-Doh.
But yeah, so I don't know. Probably the standing desk. Because I'll probably get the most use out of that if I do end up getting the standing desk or the monitor, or depending upon how much money I actually make over the course of those games, I could theoretically, well, probably not both, because if I got a nice 4K like curved monitor, those are like $800.
No, I have a 1080p
yours
monitor.
Is HD.
Mine was $170.
Yeah. The 4K, I think that 4K OLED is the problem.
Yeah.
If I didn't want an OLED, then it'd probably be a lot cheaper. But I do want an OLED. Like I went with the QLED for my TV and I'm happy with it, but like I feel like for something that I'm sitting this close to and something where I really value, I really value the graphical fidelity and the shadows and everything, all that stuff. It would be nice to splurge a little bit, especially since I'm only going to be buying one.
Right. Which one will you replace?
The center monitor.
The center monitor?
Yeah. That's the idea anyway. As far as I'm aware, it doesn't cause any significant problems for the graphics card to be running different monitors at different resolutions.
I'm sure nothing could go wrong.
Nothing could go wrong.
Right.
But yeah, that's neither here nor there at the moment. You want to talk about Emasculator?
Sure.
So Emasculator is an American / Czech band, some members from the Czech Republic. That is a pretty new band. They haven't been around for very long.
2021, something like that?
Something like that, yeah. The bunch of the different members of the band have been in other death metal bands previously. A fairly long list, actually. None of them are ones that I have particularly heard of, but I'm not altogether that connected to the death metal scene as it is, especially not like brutal death metal, which is what I would categorize this as, definitely.
By the way, one of them was at some point, I can't remember which one it was. I think the singer was in a band called Poon Tickler.
Yeah, I did see that on the list. Poon Tickler. But yeah, so they're relatively new. And like I said, I don't really keep up with like brutal death metal. I think pretty well that when I'm listening to death metal, it's usually like some weird like progressive death metal band or something like that. That's more my jelly and my jam. But this very reminiscent of some bands that I have listened to but haven't listened to in a long time. Like you got like your Dying Fetuses. Talking about death metal is always fun.
It is always fun.
You got like Dying Fetus. You've got Aborted. You've got other uncomfortable reproductive.
Infant Annihilator.
They're more of a deathcore band, but they're on brand for the bands that I named. But more of the brutal bands, even kind of just like Cannibal Corpse, honestly.
That's what I kept comparing them to. I'm like, this. If you told me this was Cannibal Corpse, I'm like, I believe it.
I can see it. That's definitely the reference point that my brain kept on looking at as a point of comparison for this EP. But it's an all-female band, which is because it is Female February. We haven't mentioned that so far this episode. It is Female February, where we take some time to talk about the ladies of metal. They're an all-female band
from California, Florida, and Prague.
Yes, and this EP and the artwork as well. It definitely, I didn't really look too much at the lyrics because I also couldn't understand any of them, or almost any of them. But the album art and the sort of instrumental interlude. I think one of the band members is ethnically Indian from subcontinent. I think name at the very least looked, very much from South Asia, and I got some Hindu vibes both from the artwork and from the sort of interlude there that had some clean vocals on it. It was really, there was sitar. It was really neat.
It almost felt like what do you call it? An intermission, sort of like
an intermission, a palate cleanser,
right?
Perhaps, but and then back into just really gurgly, brutal death metal. But yeah, this album's or EP. We keep on going back and forth. Really, this is an EP. Rather than a full-length album, because I think it's also I think it was marketed as an EP. The reviews that I looked at refer to it as an EP. They don't refer to it as an LP.
Right, but it does have 7 songs on it.
It has 7 songs, but it's only 23 minutes.
Recently, we've listened to an album with 7 songs on it that was like an hour and a half.
Exactly.
Like
yeah. Depending upon the genre, you absolutely can. And we talked about this before we started recording. Depending upon the genre, you absolutely can have an album that is 23 minutes long, but those are usually grindcore albums, and there are 40 songs.
Right.
So yeah, I would consider this an EP. Usually when I think EP, it's more like 5 songs, but to me, an album is usually either 50 minutes or 10 songs, whichever comes first.
So this would be an EEP.
An EEP, an extended play?
Yeah.
An extra extended play.
Yes. Either one of those will suffice.
They extended it just a little bit more. Just a little bit. But yeah, does this album slap?
Yeah.
It does, yeah. I could not find much in the way of review information about this. Like there were some people talking about this, but didn't make a particularly big splash. I think partially just because of the genre. This style of death metal is definitely a little bit more kind of underground, and I think doesn't quite catch the ear of your bigger publications quite as much as something that's a bit cleaner or a bit more boundary pushing. As far as sonically speaking, anyway, boundary pushing.
One thing I compare this to a little bit is bluegrass.
Elaborate?
Because it's a very traditional album. It's something that's there's a specific style, specific delivery that's been around for 30 years now or more. And they're like, yes, that's what we like, and we're going to do that.
We're just going to stick with that. We're just going to, the same. The Suffocation blueprint, right? That was another one of the bands that was called out as like, if you like this band, you'll probably be interested in this. And from what I've listened to of like early Suffocation albums, they're kind of I think the blueprint for like brutal death metal in the mid '90s and onward. And you got your bands from the 2000s or whatever as well, where you start getting into like bands that are a little bit more deathcore leaning, that sort of really just seem to come at writing an album with the goal of, let's make this as fucking nasty as humanly possible.
Right.
Let's make this just as gross and gory and unpleasant in some ways as humanly possible. Not necessarily unpleasant to listen to if you like that sort of thing, but just like, let's make it nasty. Make it nasty.
Wow, gross, gory, and unpleasant. I wish I'd have thought about those when I was naming my children.
Hi, I'm Gory Bennett.
that would be the middle girl. Yeah.
I listened to this album 3 times because it was so
23
short.
Minutes long,
I listened to it the first time this morning when I was doing laundry, and I listened it to two more times while I was priming my Space Marines today. So I listened through it 3 times, and I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not like crazy about it or anything, but for what it is, it's good. It's kind of like when the first time that we listened to Gatecreeper. Sure. Right, where it was like that I hadn't quite unlocked whatever it is that's now been unlocked about Gatecreeper for me that I really enjoy. Where I was like, this is exactly what it says on the tin. They said this is a brutal death metal album, and that's exactly what it is.
By
gumption. That's not what that is, but by Jove, it's exactly what it is. So yeah, I don't know. I feel a little bad because I don't have a whole lot to say about it.
Well, I mean, that's because what you've said is to the point. I mean, it is what it is. It's exactly that. There's not a whole lot of a deep dive. There's not a whole lot about their story available.
Yeah,
because they're so new and so underground.
So yeah, there's not a lot of meat on the there's not a lot of raw bleeding meat on this carcass for us to discuss of this brutal death metal album. Other than to say, yeah,
Give it a listen.
Give it a listen if you like really heavy death metal. You'll probably enjoy this just fine. What's your favorite song on the album?
My favorite song is "In Resplendent Terror."
Same.
Yeah.
I like the riff on that one.
Yes.
In general, none of like the riffs here really blew my socks off. They're what you would expect. Going into a brutal death metal album, you're like, yep, that's a death metal riff right there.
If they keep doing this, they'll be fine. They'll be absolutely fine. It's sort of like the aforementioned Cannibal Corpse, and to a longer extent, AC/DC.
Yeah.
It's like, we could change this up, but we're not gonna.
Yeah, why would we do that?
Why would we do that?
I think one of the other reference points that popped into my head was certain Napalm Death albums as well.
Okay, yeah.
Some of their middle stuff, I would say, from the 90s.
Right, like Harmony Corruption and
the first few albums with Barney.
Yeah.
Sort of popped into my head. And that's a little bit where the production is as well. It's not too clean. That's something I've complained about before with like technical death metal, where there is a tendency sometimes for the production to just be too clean, and it ends up feeling just artificial in a way that I don't usually like. Like there's a Canadian band called Archspire that I've tried to get into, and I find their production is just a little too clean for me on most of their albums.
Which is sad because I like their music.
Yeah,
the music is great, but yeah, you're right. It's like it's too sanitized.
Yeah,
in the recording.
And like I've watched a bunch of the guitarist's YouTube videos, like with his wife, and he's really funny. Seems like a really cool guy. But yeah, just I'm not super into that style of production where it's just so clean. There's a deathcore band called Rings of Saturn as well that sort of fits into that category of just really, really technical playing and really impressive musicianship, but it just kind of lacks soul a little bit, even if it is a blackened and gore-stained soul. Now you're what food did you just think of?
Salmon.
Salmon?
Oh, sorry, catfish.
Okay.
Catfish.
I was like, salmon, but why salmon?
I don't think we've ever had blackened salmon.
Blackened salmon?
I had my share fair of it.
Is blackened salmon what you call like a sort of black metal adjacent band from British Columbia?
Maybe.
A place where there's a lot of salmon?
Perhaps.
Maybe
blackened salmon. But blackened catfish is definitely from New Orleans.
Yeah,
they're from
I don't know. The only time I think I've ever had catfish, 99% of all the fish I have consumed in my life has been walleye that was caught by myself, my father, a member of my immediate family, pretty much. Because that's all that they ever fish for is walleye. The only time I can recall having had catfish or getting close to having had catfish is a time we were at my grandparents' house and we had a little fish fry and we were going to have some catfish that I think my grandpa had caught on the river. And I spilled orange juice all over it because I was like 6. Yeah, and I spilled orange juice all over my fish, and so I don't think I ended up eating any of the catfish. I remember that it looked good, but I just spilled orange juice all over it because I'm fucking clumsy.
Once again, OJ ruined your day.
Yeah. But yeah. So yeah, I haven't had catfish since then. The pain of that moment has stuck with me and prevented me from having catfish.
Where would we even get it in North Dakota? At this point?
I don't know where, because like it's not really a commercially available sort of fish meat generally, because anything you get at a store is almost always going to be like cod or something like that. It's almost never a freshwater fish. So it's cod or salmon or tuna or what have you. So yeah, I don't know where you could go to just buy catfish.
Or a restaurant, someone that make it for you.
I'm sure there's restaurants that have it, but I don't know what those restaurants would be.
We used to have one here.
Which one would that be?
That would be the one next to Taco John's on South Broadway. That's now a Mexican restaurant. It was called what was it called?
Oh God,
called Joey's Only for a while, and then
it changed recently, right?
Yeah. He went out of business.
There was like the sign had like an
Captain's
anchor.
Cove?
Yeah, Captain's Cove.
Yeah.
One of those restaurants in Minot that you only ever drive by.
Right, and it's weird. I mean, they maintained their doors being open for years after any car was ever in that parking lot.
It's that sort of thing where like there's gotta be some laundering happening there, right? There's gotta be a front for something. Mm-hmm. Someone's selling coke out of that building.
There's cocaine in there.
But allegedly. But yeah, Captain's Cove, I think is. When did that turn into a Mexican restaurant? That wasn't too long ago.
Not too long ago.
Yeah. Other than some restaurant where maybe you could get catfish, I think you just have to catch them.
Did they have them in North Dakota?
Yeah, there's catfish. I've caught that. I don't think it was the same instance where the catfish were being served.
Right.
But I did go fishing with my grandpa a few times, and we caught some catfish down on the Missouri. South of Bismarck there.
Sure.
But you don't tend to catch them like in the lake or anything, 'cause it's too deep.
Well, you see, I have some, and I make air quotes here, uncles who are not related. But I went fishing with them on Fort Cobb in Oklahoma, and they had these milk jugs that were just floating in the water, and they had stink bat traps.
Stink bat traps.
Stink bait traps.
There we go.
That were on the bottom, and then they'd pull them up.
And there'd just be catfish on them.
Yeah, right.
I think pretty much anywhere where there is fresh water and it's not permanently frozen, you will find catfish. Anywhere in the world. I think there's catfish pretty much fucking everywhere except Antarctica. But yeah, there's definitely catfish that you can catch in North Dakota. But you just got to know. Definitely on the Missouri. I don't know about everywhere else. I don't know about the Souris.
The Souris River.
Or the mouse, if you will.
I like to spell out Sewerous.
I didn't.
Souris.
Souris, yeah. Yeah, it does smell like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially the sort of oxbows down by the park.
Oof, and in spring especially.
Yeah.
When all the winter kill gets fresh again.
Like Painted Woods down in Washburn. Going golfing. Just like, oh, poop. Definitely smells like that sometimes. But anyway, this album that we were talking about for a little bit, the Disfigured and the Divine. What metal do you bestow upon it, like Maskanata to Chewbacca?
Again, a solid silver for this one.
I agree. Solid silver for sure. So next week, I don't know yet. I have some ideas, but I'm going to have to do a little bit of looking around.
How many more of these do we have? How many more female? 2 more.
2. Yeah, should be 2.
Oh, I know what mine's going to be.
All right. Unfortunately, there is a new Spirit Box album coming out March 4th.
No!
So they're just outside. Not that we can't talk about it, but it's also going to be in the middle of a non-metal month.
You know, we are in the media. Maybe we could get an advanced copy.
Don't make me send an email to someone. Don't make me send an email to a professional. Please. We have 10 regular listeners.
Is it down to 10 now?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't pay that close attention.
You are important.
Yes.
I understand that.
I did open our Facebook page for the first time in probably over a year.
Yeah.
Because I posted something to Instagram for the first time, and again, like over a year. Because I was like, yay, hey, you know, people who know me know I've liked Warhammer for a long time, so maybe they'd be interested to see that I'm actually painting the minis, yay. So I did that, and then I opened Facebook for a second, which I think was a mistake. But I opened that, and it's like, oh, Bronze Metalist has 4 notifications, and the way that it says, it's like posts from other people on your page, which was not the case. But the way they phrased it made me think that like other people had been making posts on the podcast page. Like that shouldn't be possible. But really, it was just notifications from accounts that I follow on the podcast account. And I was like, you bastards. And I closed it again.
Then you put out your computer because it was on fire at this point.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know why the fucking swapping pages and accounts on Facebook requires so much fucking processing power. It seems like no matter what you're using to do so, Facebook just cannot process it. I don't get it. But anyway, we'll talk about something next episode.
Okay.
I'll figure something out. I have a couple of ideas, but
sure.
Nothing concrete just yet, so we'll see. But until you hear from us then, why don't you go ahead and follow our pages on what pages? No, follow words. Tastes like English. Until you hear from us again, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to our feed on whatever podcast service you use to listen to us. Thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Medalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations. I don't know what the Air Force calls like their drill instructors, because I think drill instructor is technically a Marine Corps term, and then the Army has drill sergeants,
right?
Or that.
The Air Force has what is called a concierge.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The Air Force, they have a fucking butler or something. I don't know.
When my mom came back from OTS, she says, "Oh, so tough. They only put mints on your pillow on the weekend."
And in the Navy, you call them daddy.
Yeah.
But tis.